New public buildings will be required to include single-sex loos in a bid to curb the proliferation of gender-neutral facilities. Offices, schools, hospitals and entertainment venues are among the non-residential premises that will be banned from having solely unisex toilets, under plans announced by Minister for Equality's Kemi Badenoch today. According to new building regulations and guidance, separate gender-neutral toilets should be provided only if there is space and should not come at the expense of female facilities. The government acknowledged that the rise in unisex toilets raised, quote, safety concerns from women who feel they are losing privacy and being unfairly disadvantaged. Confirming the move, which will be consulted on in the autumn, Badenoch said it is vital that women feel safe and comfortable when using public facilities and that their needs are respected. These changes will ensure that separate toilets for men and women are preserved at the same time as providing universal toilets for those that want them. This is a common sense approach. Belinda de Lucy, this feels absolutely necessary to me.
Of course. I mean, it's since the 1850s, women have been campaigning for their own public loo single-sex space, and it was fought against and fought against. Even the carriages and hansom cabs would run into the first female loos to try and destroy them because there was so much reaction towards women daring to leave their home and participate in public life, which, of course, public loos for women necessitate that. Women need their own spaces to participate in public life, and the trans zealots have been trying to take them away from women in this relentless attack on women and girls to help protect the feelings of people who are going through disorders that need care. They do not need to encroach on our rights. So women have been fighting a long time. We then had our single-sex spaces, and within the last 5 years, they've been taken away. Schools around the country have been erasing girls' loos for pupils. So girls have been staying at home when they have their periods instead of attending school because they don't feel safe or they feel like they have no dignity or respect for their privacy by having to experience their monthlies, if you like, in a school environment with boys giggling next door in the cubicles. Why do you like them so much, Benjamin?
I mean, I've never said that. I can't say it again. But do you know what?
Well, you don't agree with this policy from Kemi Badenoch, though.
It's pretty weird in the deepest economic crisis we've had for decades that there is a government minister who is obsessing over where some people pee. I mean, Belinda, where do you think they were peeing last year?
Why is it little to you? You don't know what it's like being a girl at school or being a vulnerable woman in needing a safe space to run to.
I've never ever said they shouldn't have them in schools,
you've just said that it doesn't really matter because of cost of living, or why is it so important?
Where do you think they peed?
It matters to us.
Where do you think they peed before?
Where do I think they peed before? I've only ever known single-sex loos in nightclubs and bars.
So where do you think transgender women peed before?
I think there were a tiny amount of transgender women before. Now the trans spectrum has become so vast.
Where do you think
it includes rapists and paedophiles and every sexual deviant. No, I'm saying it now includes that.
How dare you say trans people are rapists and paedophiles?
She did not say that.
You said they're rapists and paedophiles.
No, I said the trans spectrum has been expanded so much.
Rapists and paedophiles.
And it does a huge disservice to genuine trans people.
Does that match Ofcom rules?
No, I didn't say that.
Did you listen to what Belinda said?
You just said the trans spectrum has extended to rapists and paedophiles.
No, has extended to include the worst sexual deviants who hide under the umbrella, which does a huge disservice to trans women, a huge disservice to the trans community.
Benjamin,
lesbians be banned?
So outrageous.
Should lesbians be banned?
Putting words into my mouth is so outrageous. You don't know.
Should lesbians be banned?
Trans extremism has hurt the trans community more than women wanting their safe spaces ever could.
There are rapists.
Why have you brought lesbians into this, by the way?
Because she's saying that these people are going to target women. Well, should lesbians?
No, but Benjamin, you must note there is evidence, Benjamin, of trans rapists, for example, in hospitals using that to rape women. There is evidence of that, Benjamin. This is not a made-up story. And so the
rapists don't need a door to stop them. People who are rapists are repugnant and heinous. And people who are rapists, you know, the man that raped the woman in Clapham, he didn't need to go into a female toilet. He needed to put on a police uniform. The man that raped those two girls in the 2000s, Ian Huntley, he didn't need to go into a women's toilet.
But do you not understand?
He just needed to pretend to be a caretaker.
Society has been conditioned to
Tory
to
MP,
stop
Charlie
women
Elphicke,
complaining
didn't
about
need to
men being in their
didn't need to go
bathrooms.
into a women's bathroom. He needed to look
Of
like a
course
respectable
not.
member of society.
Of course not.
So the idea
And there's lots of ways to
the idea of
protect women
pretending
in
that trans
society.
people
I'm
are
not saying
plagued by
trans people are. I'm saying the
paedophiles and
trans
rapists
spectrum
is
now shelters
disgusting.
them. You're completely misquoting me because you cannot defend the argument that the trans spectrum
Where
has
do you think
started to
transgender
include...
people peed 10 years ago?
Because there was a tiny minority of transsexuals
That's
then.
not an
Trans
answer.
now
There
means
still
someone
is
who
a
wants to
tiny.
be non-binary one week, someone who wants to be a girl the next week, someone who
Where do you think they
suddenly
peed?
identifies as a woman once he's been
I
convicted
feel
of
like
a
Jeremy
sexual
Paxman
crime
with
in
Michael
prison.
Howard. Where do you think they peed?
I think back then, are
We're
you
not
saying
gonna
it
get an
made women
answer.
comfortable back then? Because I've been in a loo before with transsexuals flashing. Right? And you're saying that my experience is completely invalid and I'm
No, I didn't.
transphobic for having that experience.
Well, you are transphobic.
No, I am
But where do you
not,
think
because
they
I feel
peed? You
protective
just called them
over
rapists and
I feel
paedophiles.
protective over
No,
the
she-
genuine
Benjamin,
trans community
Benjamin, we
who are
have to
being
be-
slurred by
we-
trans
We have to
What do
be
you
no, but
think?
we have to be clear.
not fair.
You're saying that Belinda said that trans people were
a lie.
rapists.
She said the transfer has
She
been
didn't.
extended
No,
to
the
include
trans
rapists and
spectrum
paedophiles. Yes.
has been extended
Which
to
bit of
include...
that do you not understand?
So you're saying rapists who in prison who say they're women now are part of the trans community because if you
let's
don't,
just be
that's
clear.
transphobic.
I couldn't give a damn about
I know
rapists'
you- I know,
rights.
I know.
Rapists should be locked
Well, hang
up
on a
in
minute.
prison are disgusting. I don't care how they identify. That's not the issue. The issue is that you're demonising the regular
oh my
folk
God,
trying to lead their lives.
I'm protecting the trans
Where do you
community
think
by not
trans
allowing
women
the
pee?
extremists to
Where do you think they
hijack
pee?
the narrative of the genuine trans community who suffer gender dysphoria.
Where do you think they pee?
Because now it's all become a cult and a fashion and it hides people with sexual deviances that use that door to access women's spaces.
Mini Mary
Don't
Whitehouse
lie
over
about what
here.
I said.
You know, where do you think they pee? I mean, this is that. So if you're saying they
Carol
can't,
Malone,
you're saying
Carol
they
Malone.
can't go there. Where
No,
do they go?
They should go in their own cubicles.
Where?
Not
Their
in
own-
women's.
So you want gender-neutral cubicles?
As alongside single-sex
So you
cubicles for
disagree
women.
with So you disagree with
No,
that?
okay.
Carol Malone.
You don't make any sense,
No,
Belinda Deluce.
Benjamin.
Carol Malone.
No.